This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. I'm going to cover a bunch of territory today. First, I want to lead with a quote. The educational flippening is coming. Soon, spending 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars at a woke American madrasa won't signal intelligence or employability. Quite the opposite, end quote. From one Balaji, that's at balajis.com. A very fine Indian thinker, very wise. But I love that because it sets up where I want to go today. It's about thinking. It's not about conforming. It's not about following the pack or following the leader or being woke. And let's face it, an army of people are now woke. I'm seeing it on this podcast. Guests come on and they're reading talking points to me. Now look, that's fine. Read the talking points to me. It's all open for debate. For example, climate change. Apparently, in academic institutions, it's accepted as fait accompli. It's a done deal. There is one way to think about it. I don't like pollution. I don't want coal-fired power plants blowing shit into the air. That's not my cup of tea. But I can also flip on YouTube and go back and watch a little bit of Earth history and find out that there was something called Pangea. So if we're going to talk about climate change, what horizon are we talking about? Are humans responsible for making a mess? Absolutely. Now, what do we do with that? But you know, what I've just said in the last minute is not up for debate. You can't even have a conversation with people. Wrong podcast. I'm not very good at towing the line. I'm not very good at kissing the ass. I'm sorry. Maybe one day that will get me canned by the woke crowd. I hope not, because I do like to think that I have a wide variety of very interesting guests on this show that run the gamut from the left pole to the right pole and some in the center. But I think Balaji's quote is spot on. If you are at school, either teaching or, quote, learning, and all you're doing is reciting whatever is thrown at you, and you can't distinguish between propaganda and reality, you're screwed, my friend. Building on that thought, I posted a comment on Facebook recently, and I said, there could be nothing more pathetic than to watch a man argue emotion as his argument. This is it. Watch people today. Whether it's social commentary, whether it's market commentary. Objectivity, reality? Hell no. At least 50% of the players are arguing literally how they feel. That's their argument. How they feel is their argument. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Nothing on this planet, nothing in human civilization was built on just how you feel. It was built by strong-minded individuals who sat down and figured out the logic of it all and made it work. They built things. They didn't cry over things. They built things. Emotion's a funny word, especially in the modern times. We all get emotional about all kinds of things in our lives. But the moment you take your inner issues and you put it out in the public, and that becomes a market argument or a political argument or a social argument, you've lost the argument. And you've probably lost money. I see emails coming to me all day long. People who have these market views. When you tear it apart, when you look at their words, when you look at what they write, they're writing about their childhood trauma, or they're writing about fear of missing out. They're writing about competing with their neighbor. They're not writing objectively. They can't even objectively look at themselves. They lie to themselves constantly. Am I perfect? Hell no, that's not the point. I already acknowledge I'm not perfect. But I've tried for 8 years to put content on this show that's objective. If you don't like something I say, get to the understanding of why I said it. There's a foundation. There's a reason. There's a method to the madness. But I sure as hell don't want to restrict anybody from saying something emotional or crazy or nutty. The thinker, Noam Chomsky, he says it clearly. If we don't believe in freedom of expression for people we despise, we don't believe in it at all. There are plenty of thinkers whose thinking I despise, but I don't want to stop them. If they've got bad thinking, eventually they will go away. Good thinking will win out. Their type of bad thinking will just, it'll just fade away. What's interesting, though, is when you have good thinkers and people want to shut them down. They're frightened of their thinking. They're scared of their thinking. Or, frankly, they realize that thinking that they want to stop is powerful and will take away their power. That's been my whole fight with this story of trend following since the beginning. Trend following takes away the power of certain market players. That's what it does. If you accept trend following, you accept that so much of the financial industry is nonsense, is worthless, is simply people using their position, broker, analyst, whatever, to skim from the accounts of everyone. That's how they make their money. And you can make a lot of money that way. It comes down to a mindset with trend following. Let's call it the mindset barrier. Not my term. Mindset is my term. Well, it's not exactly my term, but mindset is a term that's in the title of my new book coming out about Tom Basso. But I'm looking at an article that I spotted called The Mindset Barrier. It was on Zero Hedge. I caught it from a link that Jerry Parker posted. Jerry Parker, the original turtle, who's appeared on this show many times. The article was written by a guy named Alex Craner. I don't know of Alex, but he apparently is a trend-following trader in good standing, at least in his writing that I saw today. Let me quote a few paragraphs from Alex. In spite of the undeniable success of trend-following strategies, most investors continue to regard trend following as an oddity, not entirely fit for the ranks of serious market professionals. The reason for this has nothing to do with performance, but is in part simply cultural. Namely, most of today's market professionals were educated in the Cartesian tradition, which validates rigorous scientific method as a way to acquire knowledge. Value is placed on understanding linear cause and effect relationships that allow us to make predictions about stuff. This mindset has an obvious appeal in investment speculation. We expect to predict and profit from market events by understanding how the conditions we observe would cause them. That mindset also gives us the comfort in the sense of competence and control. That's a very well-written paragraph. Very true. So obviously, a bad way for those that don't understand trend following to think. Trying to control the markets, really, right? Absolutely impossible. I mean, if a small child is given some basic understanding of the movements of markets over a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year period, that small child will come back with the idea of chaos. That small child's not going to come back with the idea, wow, I can predict everything now. It's so clear to me. If I just study really hard at Harvard, if I just study really hard at Yale, I will know the cause and effect relationships. And when this happens in this market, I can tell you what will happen next. Like everyone listening knows that's bullshit. But it doesn't stop, does it? Let me continue with Alex. Trend following is a cultural misfit in this intellectual tradition. To begin with, it's based on a field of study called technical analysis, where knowledge accrues through judgment, heuristics, and experience rather than empirical science. I might argue that a little bit differently. I'm not so sure I would say that trend following is not empirical science. I would argue that it is. But I'm not picking on Alex. Let him continue. Trend following also blurs the relationship between intellectual work and its expected results. The linear thinking investor judges a transaction according to an explicit understanding of how and why that transaction should generate a profit. The trend follower simply implements a set of predefined rules, accepting that any given transaction may produce a loss. A trend follower expects profits, not from any particular transaction, but from a long sequence of trades extending far into the future. Now, far into the future also is an expression that can mean a lot of things. Far into the future could mean next month. You just don't know as a trend following trader. Back to Alex. Thus, while conventional approaches to investing stem from an understanding of a particular situation, trend following is based on the belief that a certain predefined speculative behavior will deliver positive results over time, regardless of the economic situation, industry, market, or geography. Incidentally, this is another great advantage of trend following. If you learn how to read the charts or formulate high-quality trend following strategies, you'll be able to greatly enhance your universe of opportunities. By understanding trends, you'll be able to trade securities even if you don't know everything about them. Over the last 20 plus years, I've traded in well over 50 different financial and commodities futures markets, and I can confess that I know next to nothing about most of them. I merely believe that they move in trends and that with a disciplined adherence to a well-formulated set of rules, I'll be able to capture profits from such trends as and when they emerge. Yeah, that's very well written. I have small gripes, I guess, with some wording, but frankly, I can almost think that if I talked to Alex, maybe it was just taken out of context or I was not reading it right, because he seems to get it very clearly. But that's not easy to fit in to that mindset. Oof, you're going against human nature. You're going against your friends, your family, your neighbors, market professionals. I caught a quote the other day from Ed Lattimore. Fitting in is the most comfortable form of failure there is, end quote. Let me repeat. Fitting in is the most comfortable form of failure there is. Nice one, isn't it? Fitting in is the most comfortable form of failure there is. Don't fit in. Don't play by the rules that you don't understand. That's what's so damn great about trend following. You don't have to understand why copper moved up or down. You don't have to understand why oil moved up or down. You don't have to debate whether or not Tesla is a bubble or not. Now, all of those things can be fun. And I sure don't want to see governments blow bubbles. I don't want to see Federal Reserves blow bubbles because the after effects can be really bad for society, especially when something pops. But I got to be honest, I can't tell you a damn thing about why a particular stock is moving up or down or why a commodity is moving up or down. And if you think you know, you probably just haven't looked in the mirror too closely, because there's a bunch of shit coming out of your ears if you think you can accurately predict something, some market up or down on a consistent basis. That's why I say look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and take the selfie, and then you can actually see the shit coming out of your ears. It'll actually flow down onto your shirt, and then you could take a picture in the mirror, and then you could post it. The other day, I got 2 emails, almost back to back. One said, you know, Mike, love your podcast, but you got to turn the swearing down. Too many F-bombs, too much SHIT, all that kind of stuff. Literally, within the hour, some other guy writes me and says, I love your podcast and keep up the fuck bombs. I don't do this podcast thinking to myself that I'm going to start swearing when I turn on the recorder. It just happens. I guess I could clean it up, but so far I've not been very successful at it. The only time I am successful is I seem to be able to keep the swearing out of the interviews. Maybe that's just a respect for the guest. But if you wind me up and you turn me on, I mean, right now I'm waving my arms. Seriously, who else can talk like this unless you're waving your arms, unless you're passionate? And I feel a little sweat coming on right now. But I will try to do better. I respect those in my audience that do not want to hear the swear words. I'm not making fun of you if you have those virgin ears. I'm really not. It's just a bad damn habit I've got. One last thought that I caught, which kind of builds and connects and intertwines with all of my thoughts today. Jerry Parker, as I mentioned earlier, one of the original Turtles, he quotes from some hedge fund article, and the hedge fund article says, maybe some of the AI strategies will begin to display more of a capacity to think and imagine like a human and better respond to extreme events as they unfold in real time. End quote. That was the excerpt from this hedge fund article that Jerry Parker was quoting from. Jerry responded, I don't want to respond like a human, especially during extreme events. Let me read that all over again so you can take it in. I don't think most people would take it in. Jerry's got him really damn wise with how he says things. Again, here's the hedge fund article. Maybe some of the AI strategies will begin to display more of a capacity to think and imagine like a human and better respond to extreme events as they unfold in real time. End quote. Jerry says, I don't want to respond like a human, especially during extreme events. Now, what's interesting about that, whoever wrote that hedge fund article was probably a journalism student, some twerp, who had no real clue what they were saying. It just sounded pretty. But Jerry, with an eagle eye, spotted it and ripped it in half. Because humans don't respond well at extreme events. Humans do all the wrong things at extreme events. And that's why when extreme events happen, trend following kicks ass. Trend following makes a lot of money. So go do yourself a favor. Go find some thinkers. I follow some fine thinkers on Twitter, but go find some thinkers to follow. Don't follow all these emotional shitheads. Let them go. Go find some people that look at the world not through the rose-colored lenses, but people that look at the world in an honest way, a real way. You'll feel a lot better. One last final one that I really love, a cartoon that I saw. There's a newsreader, one of these people that I love to make fun of. He's sitting at a desk, and the director is off camera. And the director is looking at the newsreader, and he says, lights, camera, bullshit. That's it right there. Lights, camera, bullshit. So the challenge for you can see when the lights come on. You can see when the camera comes on. But do you know when the bullshit comes on? I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.